And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Hey folks, today we're taking a look at Machi Koro Bright Lights Big City. Now Machi Koro is a game that came from Japan and was eventually picked up by IDW. An extremely popular game, was nominated for the Spiel des Jahres. This is a new version of Machi Koro, which is a Target exclusive, just came out. It's very similar to the original Machi Koro with the expansions. It's a new version of the game, almost like a 2.0. Now if you've never heard of Machi Koro, that's fine. I'll show you how to play it in just a moment. If you already own Machi Koro, this is going to have some crossover with the original game, but a lot of things have changed too. Let's take a look at it. At the beginning of each game, players are going to get one wheat field, one bakery, and a city hall. Players are also going to get 6 other buildings: airport, moon tower, amusement park, shopping mall, train station, and harbor. None of these buildings are built. Each of them has a cost to build. When they are built, they're going to give the player a special ability. When all 6 of them are built, the player will win the game. So, what you do on your turn is you're going to take a die. You're going to roll that die. You're going to look at the number that's rolled, and then you're going to look at the buildings you have. Now there's different buildings. There are blue buildings. These activate on anyone's turn. So if I roll a 1, for example, in the first turn, this says get a coin from the bank. Hooray, I got a coin. But so does everybody else who has a 1. They're also going to get a coin. Or anyone else who has a wheat field. The 2 or a 3 here will get me a coin from the bank, but this only happens on my turn. So if I roll a 2, I'm going to get a coin. Anyone else who has a bakery will not get a coin. If you don't get any coins in your turn and you don't have any coins, the city hall here gives you a coin. So you will always end your turn with at least 1 coin. After that, players can spend their money to buy cards. Now there's 2 piles of cards. These are 6 or less, and these are 7 or more that are shuffled. And you're going to have 5 different cards placed out. And as you're pulling cards to put them out at the beginning of the game, so let's say I pull a flower orchard here, I would put that on top of the other flower orchard. So there's always 5 different cards. When you buy a card, let's say I have that 1, I want to buy another ranch. This ranch gives me, on anyone rolling a 2, I'll get a coin. So I take that, and then we replace it. A forest would be put here. There already is a forest, and here's a wheat field. And so players are going to be rolling dice, and then they're going to see what happens, and then they're going to buy more buildings. So as time goes by, you're going to have multiple cards. Let's say I had 2 wheat fields and someone rolls a 1. Then I'm going to get 2 coins. And eventually, you want to buy the cards that are 8 through 14, because if the player builds a train station, which costs 4 coins, they can now decide to roll 1 or 2 dice. Shopping malls give you extra coins for different buildings with different symbols on them. Amusement park says if you roll doubles, go again. The moon tower lets you roll 3 dice and use the 2 of your choice. And the airport says if you don't build anything, you get 10 coins. And then the harbor says if you roll 10 or higher, you can add 2 to your roll, which is the way to get these 12 through 14 cards. Now, most of the cards are pretty simple. You're going to get coins on other people's turns, or you're going to get coins on your own turn as you look at these cards. Some of them will affect other cards. For example, here, the fruit and vegetable market will give you 2 coins to the bank for each wheat establishment you own on your turn only. So I play this one, and these flower orchards, which have the symbol I'm looking for, and let's say I have 2 of those, and someone rolls and I roll an 11 on my turn, I'm going to get 4 coins. The red cards are cards that you will do to other people, like this cafe here, to get a coin from the player who rolled the dice. Here, if the player who rolled this number has 3 or more landmarks, that's these big buildings you need to win the game, then you get to steal all of their coins. There's also special buildings down here at the bottom. There's a pile of them. There's going to be 2 of them available at any point in time. When these cards are bought, they're basically just going to give you a special ability. Here, when you roll 7, you get a coin from each player for each symbol that they have on your turn. Business Center, you can trade 1 non-special building with another player on your turn. The stadium, when the 6 is rolled, you get 2 coins from all players. And so there's different kinds of special buildings. And you're going to just keep playing over and over again. You can build 1 building on your turn, but your goal is to build these 6 buildings. The first person to do that is the winner. You're going to be using money. You can save money, but you got to be careful saving money because there are people who can steal that money from you, and that's the game. Well, there you have it. Machi Koro, Bright Lights, Big City. This is kind of a definitive version of Machi Koro. It really is different than the original game. In the original game, there were stacks of cards that you could buy from here. The cards come out randomly, so you can't be like guaranteed, I'm going to get 6 cafes or whatever the strategies might be. You got to deal with what comes out. But they went a step further, and they separated the cards into 6 or less or 7 and more, which is very nice because sometimes you don't want 7 or more. Maybe you do want those higher numbers, and so you can pick from the row. And then having an extra row of special buildings also gives you kind of a lot of options on your turn. To the point sometimes where we would be like, come on, it's your turn, buy something. And then people are like, oh, there's so many things to buy. And the box here, by the way, this goes up to 5 players. The original game only went to 4. But the box here says 30 minutes. The game can go 30 minutes, but it can easily not go 30 minutes. I've seen games take upwards of an hour very easily because just people are thinking, especially when you play with 5 players, there's a lot going on. Now, Machi Koro plays fairly different the more players there are. When there's a card that lets you steal from someone else, if they roll a specific number, if there's a lot of players in the game, that card's going to be much more valuable than, let's say, you're playing with only 2 players. Because if you're only playing with 2, it's going to happen, once in a while. If you're playing with 4 other players, it's going to happen a lot more often. And the cards that give you something on your turn, and because there's also red cards in this game that lets you take a lot of coins from someone else, like half the coins or whatever, or all their coins, with more players, it's going to be more chaotic because the chance of you keeping all your money is going to be less. It's going to be difficult because on your turn you're rolling, but you have dangerous numbers all around the table that if you roll those numbers, someone's going to steal from you. In fact, the rules have specific timing issues if multiple people are stealing from you, what have you. Machi Koro is a very simple game. It's very easy to get into. It's kind of like playing Settlers of Catan without the board because you just have cards and rolling them. And I remember the first time I played this, I was very enamored with the game because it was just so simple, a cool concept. And I still think it's a really cool concept. I really like the additions in this. The original game you had to build 4 buildings. Here you have to build 6, which sounds harder. It's not really. It is a little bit longer. Again, I'm kind of confused how they're saying that this game takes the same length as the original. It does not. But it still is a fairly simple game. And you have some choices, like which building am I going to build next. But you're all kind of following a basic path. I've cooled on it a little. I still like the game. I don't love it as much as I used to because you really can have some bad rolls. And it can be frustrating to save money just to have people steal it from you because of a bad roll that you got. And then people take half your money or they take all your money. And then you got to start over from scratch. And that can be frustrating because you can literally lose Machi Koro by just rolling poorly and someone else rolling well. However, the rolling dice and getting the combos and buying a whole bunch of buildings that are one type, that is an entertaining, interesting idea. And a lot of people will really kind of get a kick out of that as they play the game. So I like this game. I think this is the best version of it. I honestly think this version is better than getting the original Machi Koro plus its expansions. I think this is a nicer package. It all comes together. It still has that cool look to it. I've always liked the artwork of Machi Koro. I would, if you have extra dice laying around the house, I'd throw some in there because you have 3 dice that come with this game and you're going to be passing around the table over and over. It's better if everyone has their own pair of dice. But really, other than that, it's a good package. Certainly check it out. Machi Koro, Bright Lights, Big City. Dice Tower Judgment, approved!
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.
Shut the door!